Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everyone to Tiger Claw Radio. This is your host, Critical Failure. It is that time again. It is the middle of June. We are without air conditioning here in the Tiger Claw Radio Research Center. And on top of that, to make matters worse, the top stories this week are Windows 11 and E3. So we're going to listen to some chiptunes and have a good time. We're going to go over the news, and then we're going to join hands and find a positive place to spend our week. Thanks for sticking with us. This is TCR. We're going to listen to the CME chiptune compilation, which is free. Go get yourself a copy. Check out the show notes for the link. You're listening to TCR. The name of that track is Romance, and it was contributed by Lack of Sound. That is the artist, Lack of Sound. And not only is it available on the CME compilation for free, but if you head over to the CME Bandcamp page where the compilation is listed, all of the links for every contributing artist is there. So you can head over from there. You can jump to the Lack of Sound page, and I think they contributed a Bandcamp page where there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, there's quite a few submissions over on entries in their discography rather for Lack of Sound. All right, let's check out the news. All right, let's do some news. So this week in the news, our lead story is leaked photos of Windows 11. And I gotta say, I'm hating it. Looks an awful lot like Mac. Because what do Windows users love? A Mac interface. That's what we love. But PCGamer.com is saying they appear to be genuine. We've got a few screenshots of Windows 11, and it looks an awful lot like the canceled Windows 10X OS, which is frightening. Because nobody ever really liked Windows 10 to begin with. It was just like, at least it's not Windows 8. It was just eventually accepted, but no one ever happily went over to Windows 10. It was just because all of the software went there, so people felt like they had to. So I am not looking forward to this at all, and I gotta say, I'm really thinking hard about going back to Linux because I went back to Windows because a lot of my games were broken on Linux, and I don't know. I think this is going to end up breaking even more stuff. So I might just go back to Linux. I didn't even really plan to go back to Windows. I was trying to set up like a single Windows partition and a grub menu. And Windows was just like, no, if you're installing me, then I'm taking the whole computer. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, I guess. So that's a thing. In other news, PC Gamer has a story about UFO 2 Extraterrestrials finally being released on Steam after 11 years. Does anybody have fond memories of the old UFO games? They were like spiritual successors to the XCOM franchise. Yeah, I don't really have fond memories of those either. I've got a couple of them. What is it? Aftershock, Afterlife, something like that. This is a sequel to a game that's been like sitting in my library in Steam for nearly a decade. Actually, you know what? Let's look it up and see if it says when it's last been played. Yeah, okay. UFO Afterlight and UFO Aftershock and UFO Aftermath. And Afterlight was apparently pulled and then put back at some point. So, hang on a second. I played UFO Afterlight for 7 minutes, and that was on November 23rd, 2013. The other games are so old they don't have purchase dates or last played dates. And I gotta say, I'm looking at the screenshots for this new game, and they said it was supposed to come out in 2010. It looks like a 2010 game. You're welcome. We turn now to Rock, Paper, Shotgun for a sum up of E3. You guys know, if you've been listening for longer than 12 months, that I have zero interest in E3, but my desire to put my ear to the ground and understand what's going on brings me back here again. I didn't pay attention at all during the conference. Even back when I was kind of into E3, it always seemed like the smart move to just let it come and go and then pick up the highlights rather than watch all the weird awkwardness that happens. But Rock, Paper, Shotgun has a sum up article. Naraka Blade Point, a new giant asynchronous chainsaw weapon. Okay. Dodgeball Academia, new game announcement. That one seems kind of cool. I mean, a little bit, because I liked the. I know them as the River City Ransom games, but there's another called like the Kunio-kun games. There were some good dodgeball games in the NES and SNES era. Raw Men, new trailer. They Always Run, new trailer. Orcs Must Die 3. There you go. We were just talking about Orcs Must Die with Swingle and whatnot the other day, so that's pretty cool. I see a lot of trailers here for stuff that I don't know. I'm just overwhelmed by meh when I look at E3. I can't even read I can't even bear to read the headlines. E3, it's a thing. Heading over to stuff that actually interests me, I clicked over to Indie Retro News to see what they had. And there's a couple of old recognizable games that are ported to weird platforms, and that stuff always kind of interests me, particularly Ghosts and Goblins. A port of the classic over to the VTech Laser 300, Dick Smith VZ 200, Celtron 200, Textet TX 8000, and Solera Fellow. Of all of those platforms, I recognize zero of those names, which is awesome. There's a little trailer of it of Ghosts and Goblins running on the VZ200, and I gotta say, this is pretty awesome looking. It's like, imagine Ghosts and Goblins if it ran on like, what would I even call it? On like the Apple II or something. That's what this looks like. We've also got Load Runner, which is being ported to the Auric, and Jetpack, all-time classic game from the 1980s, also coming to the Auric. And after seeing those two headlines back to back, I had to look up what the Auric was. It was just apparently a computer from Europe in the 1980s. So we're faced with a week where, for years and years and years, when I wasn't like looking at these types of headlines, this kind of week would come and go, and it would be summed up with, there's nothing really going on. And I gotta say that would have been an accurate sum up. Because all I'm hearing right now is Windows 11 is coming and nobody's happy about it, and E3 came and went and no one's excited about that either. So that said, are you playing Super Mario Bros. 2, the Japanese edition? Because we got our big review episode in 2 weeks. I hope you check it out. I hope you'll join us. It's gonna be good stuff. I don't know, man. After that group of headlines, it's like I feel like I would have been better off reading the actual news. I'm kind of curious, how come none of these sites seem to have any stories about what's going on with Metroid, right? Because when you see like people actually discussing what happened, Metroid Dread seems to be coming up quite a bit. I don't see that anywhere here. I guess it makes sense on Rock Paper Shotgun because they're all PC and whatnot, but I clicked over to Kotaku and okay, yeah, here we go. Hold on a second. They have a little bit on Metroid Dread. So that is a thing that I feel like I should address, because if I don't mention it, it seems like that's the highlight of the E3 highlights, so to speak, is this Metroid Dread game, and it looks very side-scroller and whatnot, and I'm doing the best I can to stay away from the editorialization of the game. I don't want to hear what what the big name journalist sites really think about it, except that it's a thing, and the reaction people seem to be pretty excited about it. I can't help but feel nothing but emptiness as Nintendo tries to sell the same game to us again. I can't help it. I'm sorry, but it is a thing. And if you love the old Metroid, then I'm sure you'll also join me in disappointment as they give it a go around again. But at least apparently Metroid is still a thing, because it's always been one of the lesser appreciated, franchises of Nintendo. But hey, at least it's a franchise. It could be like Star Tropics, where it's dead in the water for 30 years. So there you have it. Another week that screams to me, stick with independent development, stick with small productions. This is a great time to be interested in these old handhelds, because we're not really getting anything worth anything in the new market. And there you have it. That said, it's a great month to play Super Mario Bros. 2, the old Japanese version, and it's a great month to play Cuphead. Great games that we have already, because our backlogs stretch on for years and years and years. And if we all join hands, we can go through them together and find things worth playing without having to, pony up for what's essentially the same game again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Sherman set the Wayback Machine to this past Friday. We need a little bit of a pick-me-up here on TCR after that. We're going to go to the van, an honest-to-goodness van cast, and we're going to see what else has been going on this week. Stick with us. All right, it's time for some good old-fashioned van casting. It is 3:48 p.m. on Friday. I just got finished with my work week. And I'm not doing fast food because I'm trying to tighten the old belt, get a little healthier. But I have been asked to fill the gas in my wife's car. So hoop and how and away we go. So this past week, I got into, surprisingly, and I don't know what led me down this rabbit hole, ROM hacking. I started working on a ROM hack of the original Super Mario Brothers. You can, there are ROM hacking tools where some of these games, very, very well-known games, you can hack pretty easily. And the Mario Brothers games are among them. So Super Mario Brothers has there's a program you can download to remix the levels, remix and build levels. There's a separate program you can download to alter the text where you need to. And then there are several programs you can use to change the graphics in any game. So at this point, I got to know the tool to remix levels, and I remixed a few levels, and I built essentially like the normal low quality ROM hack. It's got a completely new like first level, completely new second level, and then after that there's just like slight changes. A lot of fun. I'm still working on it. I cracked it open again today, and I played with it some, made some more changes. Again, NES games, NES ROMs can go on my handheld very, very well. So that makes them fun to mess with. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with it, though. Like, I'll probably put it up on romhacking.net, and then just let it sit amongst the crowd of games, ROM hacks that you can get these days. Just there to sit in the library, never to be downloaded or played, but it'll be hosted. Nothing wrong with that. I have no grand illusion of becoming this great ROM hacker or whatever, but it's been fun to play with the tools. I found a bunch of randomizers, which was really cool too. So like the one I tried was with Mega Man 2 for the NES, Mega Man randomizer. So what it does, you can configure how much you want it to randomize the game. But essentially, the way I did it was it randomized which robot master was in which stage, so you could no longer look at the map and say, okay, here's Woodman and here's Flashman or whatever. They're question marks. And then on top of that, every monster spawn in every stage has been randomized. So what typically could be one monster will be something else. So it's like one button in this interface, and then click, it'll generate, it'll generate the randomized NES file, which is really, pretty dope. There are some problems with it, like the one that I was playing, I probably put up a half an hour to, only to find out eventually that that there's a place where you can't get any further, where you climb up a ladder, and the second you move on to the next screen, there's something that hits you and drops you down to the previous screen. It's not perfect, but it's pretty fun. See, Mega Man games have the similar sorts of level builders like Super Mario Brothers does. So I have to imagine, to play a game like that, you would make the randomizer, right? Just get the randomized version. And then when you ran into issues like that, that's when you crack open the level editor, just enough to debug the issue, like delete that one monster or change it to something that's not gonna, ruin the flow of the game. So that was pretty cool. That was, again, just interesting tech. I remember a couple years back, these randomizers were making the scene because a Zelda randomizer had come out, and people were having a lot of fun playing totally randomized Zelda maps from the original Zelda for NES. All right, I'm at the gas station, so I'm gonna fill us up. I'll be right back. All right, we are gassed up and ready to go, and I gotta say, the pressure is real to go hit up the drive-through, get myself something greasy and some ice cream to top it off. But no, I'm on my way home. So we were talking about randomizers and the Zelda randomizers being popular for a while. I have not tried with that the Zelda randomizer, but I certainly did download it and stick it in my folder of hack development apps. The only other game I can think of at the beginning of all this that I really had interest in modifying was the original Zelda. Prior to the randomizers, that was another game like Super Mario Brothers where you could easily download a tool to build the overworld, and you could easily download a tool to build the dungeons, thereby making an entirely new Zelda experience without having to get into the 6502 code or any of that stuff. It's just clicking around, dragging and dropping. Admittedly, these ROM hacking tools are not the easiest thing in the world, but they do the trick. So that's been that. There's a randomizer for the Goonies 2, which I thought was interesting. I snagged that as well. Goonies, and I mean, there's a few of them for the big ones. Goonies 2 has one, and then Metroid has one, which makes more sense. So yeah, I don't know, just some new experiences as it relates to NES games that I thought were a good time. Something that works very, very well alongside an Ambernick user or a Powkid user or something like that, because I've actually made something that I myself enjoy playing, which is a lot of fun. That's one of the problems I've ran into, like with RPG Maker. RPG Maker is a lot of fun to do. You can make some pretty cool stuff with it, but when it comes to RPGs, I don't really think I can make a game that I myself would enjoy. I made that Kolteka demo like 10 years ago, and other people seem to really like that, but you play your own RPG, you know what everybody's going to say, everywhere to go, all that stuff. If I'm going to build something, it's got to be something that I can enjoy myself. Otherwise, why do it? So, I don't know. Just my 2 cents on ROM hacking. I think, especially these days, it's much more of a simple thing to get into. Like, I remember ROM hacking like around 1998 and like doing it pixel by pixel in Nesticle and that sort of thing. But now you can get on Etsy and you can hire a cart builder to take your ROM hack and and build you a cart for it. That's not that is to say, of course, you can do it yourself as well. It's not the hardest thing in the world to do. But that involves some more, learning and equipment purchasing, like buying an EEPROM reader and all that stuff. And if you're just making ROM hacks, that might be more than I would want to do. I don't know. But I thought it was really cool. Hang on a second. So I think the ROM hacks are the biggest thing. The ROM hacks, and I did a little bit with RPG Maker, but also this afternoon, I got that Hyperkin Atari joystick about 6 months ago, or however long ago it's been. Just standard USB controller, but it's set up like an old Atari joystick. And I finally, gave in and set up Joy to Key so that I could use it with the Atari Vault game and actually play some of those Atari games in that nice front end with my Atari joystick. And yeah, it's a good time. I haven't done much with Atari Vault, and I think that was having that little bit of authenticity made it that much more fun. I did open the Capcom collection again, the Capcom arcade thing that came out recently, and I played all the way through 1943, and great googly moogly. It was like, an hour and a half or something? I don't know. It took me a long time. I know there's 16 levels, and I was ready to quit by like level 9, and I did the old credit feeder move where on some of these like arcade collections, or if you're playing MAME or something, where you can just mash that button to put quarters in. I'm glad I did it because I had never done it before, and there were parts of it I really liked. But it's 1943. It is what it is. I gotta say that I don't know if this opened it or if it just was a thing. There's like a high score rush mode. And I played that and I was like, oh, that's great. What could be better than a high score rush mode, You got your Steam friends making a local leaderboard and whatnot, like the Atari Volt game does. And sure enough, this has a leaderboard, but you have to beat over a certain threshold for it to even consider your score. And it's like, that's where you lose me. I think that's garbage, because you can have 4 friends who are all really bad at a game and still have a very heated high score battle amongst them, and I think a threshold like that really ruins it. So that kind of sucks. I'm really kind of disappointed that they did that. But, oh well, I still enjoyed 1943. And, who knows? Maybe I'll get another one of those Capcom arcade games down the line. Although I tried to get 1942 today. Like right on the heels of it. I was like, yeah, let's pay $2 and get 1942. And it's listed for $2 in the Steam store, but it won't let me buy it. So I don't know. I'm hoping they fix that soon. Well, that is the end of my journey for additional gasoline for my car, for my wife's car. I will see you guys back in the studio. Back again in the studio. We are 25 minutes in, and this is the part of the show where I like to thank the sponsors. This is a Patreon-sponsored program. It's a tip of the hat for a few individuals who give of their resources to make sure TCR can come back every single week. So to them, I offer early access to the show. It comes out on Wednesday for the supporters and the following Monday for everyone else. I also create Monday Night Morrowind for the supporters every Monday. A short Let's Play where we can hang out and play some Morrowind. And I also read their names off in a Hall of Distinguished Gentlemen, which is the tradition here on TCR. And they are Hemrock, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and Eric Controller. Thank you all so much, and I hope you're enjoying the party. And with that, let's go back to the CME chiptune compilation and jam to some chiptunes. So here's a guy who embraced the somewhat of a cliche of making of Mega Man-like music, but he did it very well. And I think it captures the spirit of what chiptunes really were back in the 8-bit collective days. This is, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Creatbj. And the title is Beep Beep Bloop. Contributing artist is IPOMO Albub. Oh, jeez. Head over to CME and get yourself a copy of the MP3. It's free. And there's a link to the artist page. You can check out more of his stuff. You're listening to TCR. back again. Just yesterday, I popped open a couple days ago actually, I popped open my Origin account, and I had a couple of Battlefield games on there that have recently gone on sale on Steam. Steam had a sale of Battlefield, and I was like, you know what? A couple of the older games look like they might be fun. But then I realized I had them already on Origin from a long time ago. They just sat unplayed in my backlog. So rather than repurchase them again, got them installed, fired them up, started playing through Battlefield Bad Company 2. So when I first got my PS3, Bad Company 2 was really, I don't know if it was the first game I played, but I think it was the first disc-based game that I bought for myself. And I remember that experience being really awesome. I played some of the single-player campaign, and then I had 2 or 3 runs of multiplayer, and that was really my old-school experience with Bad Company 2. I reinstalled it, and of course, I had been told this in recent days, but the multiplayer is gone for Bad Company 2, and we're just left with the single-player campaign, which I started playing through again, and it was, I don't know, I had fun with it, but I can also see the flaws. This is a very, 2010s first-person shooting, where it's the whole experience is on rails. I find it very much akin to the Peter Pan ride in Disney World, where you sit in the little cart and it takes you around and you just kind of look at things. If you try and get ahead of the action, you just hit the invisible wall and you have to wait and get back in formation. But that said, I mean, it's still a fun enough game. You could get the same experience now, probably better, for very cheap in other places. I also installed Battlefield 3, which I think is still playable multiplayer, but I haven't really had the chance to dig into that one yet. I don't know. It was really cool. It was a good experience, because I think, if I remember right, and I might have my timeline jarbled a little bit, but when I first got these games, I think I was still running on my laptop, so I don't think playing them on PC was an option. I think I was just socking them away for the future, and now here we are, a whole lot of years later, and I was, having a good time with Battlefield. It sucks, though, because Battlefield 2 is still playable online. You can get Game Ranger, and if you have Battlefield 2, there's pretty populated games, 1 or 2 servers that have a bunch of people on them, that you can play, at least every time I've checked. But Bad Company 2 is not playable in the same way, which is a bummer. Not only is Bad Company 2 not playable in the same way, but Battlefield 2, the one that is functioning that way, that's gone from the Steam store. So I've got it because I, purchased it, 5 to 10 years ago. But if you want to get it now, I guess you'd have to get on eBay and, dig up a disc copy or something. So that was my flirtations with the Battlefield series. Of course, it was just immediate frustration. Immediate frustration. It really was the EA experience, a shiny game that I have a lot of really good things to say about, but everything else was just super frustrating. I gotta say, though, if I could put a positive spin on it, I'm more open to using Origin now than I ever was. Now that they've scuttled it, which if I might be mistaken on that, but I seem to remember hearing that they're not really pushing Origin anymore. It's been a few years since they stopped giving out the free games that they used to, and I'm glad I got those because I have a pretty nice library over there on Origin. And one other thing they did really well is I put shortcuts on my desktop to both of these games. And when I launched them, I didn't have to sit and wait an extended time for the client to screw around. It just went right to the game. That's one of my problems with Steam, and I love Steam. But I have shortcuts for a couple of Steam games on my desktop. And if I don't have Steam open, I'm leery of trying to launch one of those games because it's all right, Now we're going to have to wait for Steam to open, and now we're going to have to wait for Steam to update. And since I'm already short on RAM, that's a tall order for me. Oh, since I mentioned that, on the desk. What's on the desktop from Steam? Heavy Burger, which is a gift from good old Alex Swingle. Thanks, brother. Stay Cool Kobayashi, River City Ransom Story, which is a admittedly subpar but very enjoyable beat 'em up game. There's better beat 'em up games that are really affordable, but that one is just it has ties that I really enjoy. I've also got a shortcut for Strategic War in Europe, which is admittedly a bad like Beer and Pretzels turn-based World War II strategy game, but it's one that I enjoy. I have the pleasure of being the only user-based mod in the workshop, and I released a second one recently where I changed around the statistics a little bit. It's like the same. I took one of the scenarios and just released it, re-released it, reducing the amount of movement points it takes for land-based movement. Because I did this because it's a very it's a speed scenario. It's the scenario with the fewest amount of turns in it, and also because I feel like the workshop needed something else in there since the game's abandoned. It's abandoned but still sold, so I put that up there, not for the company but for anybody else who has the game. If I can put just a teeny droplet of usage in their pockets, then I lost some audio there. Where was I going? Yeah, I was talking about Origin and just playing Battlefield, and that's really what I've been up to. Battlefield, and then I did a little bit of ROM hacking like I talked about in the Vancast. That's actually been really fun. I took that ROM hack and I put it on my Ambernic, and I'm able to play my own ROM hack and have fun with it. The only thing that sucks about that is I can't actually edit that while I'm on my handheld, so... While playing it, that's essentially how I play test it. I'll run into things that need to be changed, and I won't be able to change them, which is nothing but frustration. For example, there was one level in my Super Mario Brothers hack where it was a remix of the third level, which is in the original Super Mario Brothers. The third level was like the treetop level, where you have these like flat platform like treetops. You can jump from platform to platform, and I changed those around a little bit, but I didn't pay attention to where the checkpoint set you. So what happens is you reach the checkpoint, and if you die, then the checkpoint has you restarting the game right over a death pit, and then you just die and die and die, and you can't come out of it. So simple thing that I got to fix. But that's something I have to go back and do, and hopefully I'll be able to fix all of those issues before I make this thing available anywhere. But whatever. I'm pretty sure that I dropped a working copy up on the Discord. If you want to join me on the Discord, if you're into TCR enough that you're on the Discord, then you can play my ROM hack if you want in all its unfinished glory, or maybe it is finished, because that's how all those Super Mario Brothers half-baked ROM hacks go. Yeah, you get a few levels of original content and then just nothing. Straight on down the line. Alright, boys and girls, it's that time again. It's time for the fail bag. It's just you and me here. It's a relatively small operation. Let's enjoy that fact. If you want to reach out to the show, the best way to do it is to leave a comment, on the YouTube comments section or whatever. But if you know me personally, you can shoot me an email. Just be clear about what I can and can't say on the air so that I don't end up accidentally blowing your spot. Also, if you're on the Discord, there's a failbag spot there you can use if you want to circumvent any of YouTube's comment weirdness. All right. Okay, so going back a week. MS-DOS image viewer application, Gaze, 1998. Somebody said, where did you get this? And honestly, the answer is, I don't remember. On my Super Mario Brothers 2 video, Alex Swingle says, get into the spirit of bad design. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely get into the spirit of bad design, because there wasn't anything we could do about it in those days. So we just dealt with it or made excuses or what have you. But that's what we did. That's that's absolutely an accurate description. Okay, Death Adder says, I feel like I legally purchased the $5 ROM of this on the Wii, the 8-bit version. I'm glad we got the reskin Doki Doki Panic version in the US. Yeah, I agree. He's talking about Super Mario Brothers 2. Not an awesome game, I gotta be honest, but at the same time, I'm super glad that it was preserved, and made available to us in one way or the other. Desm leaves a comment on last week. I like how the Burnout games feel like a continuation of arcade racing style games. That example you used from Paradise is a much better idea than the Need for Speed Most Wanted. If your son asks about dank, I always associate it with the way I would describe a dungeon: cold, dark, and dank. Great tunes on the new CME chiptune comp. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, the Burnout series is really good. I mean, I like Paradise, but I went back and played one of the older Burnout games on the PS2. This is when I had the old Office, like 6 months ago or so. But I never played the Burnout games like when they were first coming up. And I gotta say, it's really good. It was really good. Yeah, I would agree that I like that they're sort of doing away with the need to be super realistic and let's just have silly fun. Trackmania is another game that does that really, really well. Except not as much with crashing, more with like stunt driving. Good to hear from you, Desm. Hope you're doing well, man. And then we have a little bit of a back and forth between Death Adder and Swingle. Death Adder says, I'm still around. I used to do the internet hustle gimmick a bit harder, but people seem to stop caring years ago, and I can't say I blame them. So now I just poop out a podcast episode once or twice a month for a Swingle, the Hateful, and the International Treasure Balzac. Even that is hard to do at times. I feel you on that. I mostly focus on the actor who portrays Death Adder 83 these days. If the actor who portrays Death Adder 83 fails, then so does the great Death Adder. The next couple of weeks are a bit busy for me, but maybe sometime this summer I'll hop on Skype with some IPAs and we can talk some wrestling. I don't really do Discord anymore. I was in like 30 Discords and every one of them was dead, so I just stopped using it. LOL. What wrestling are you watching these days? Didn't you mention watching AAA wrestling? I can't say I'm too familiar with that one. Golden Era WWF, Attitude Era WWF, and WCW are what I'm most passionate about, but I can certainly talk WrestleMans. 1 second here. Okay, so wrestling. I'm watching NXT weekly. That's like the weekly wrestling I'm watching, but I've mostly been buying old WWF DVDs because they don't have any value. So I guess you can't even call them WWF DVDs. They're the WWE. It was post name change era, for the most part, because they do a pretty good job of like summarizing like the key moments. For example, Greatest Stars of the 90s is a pretty good purchase. It was like $5. It was 3 discs. The first disc was like a really terrible VH1 special that lasted 3 hours. But then discs 2 and 3 was just like a highlight of like great matches. Like matches in their entirety, but like picked from here and there throughout the 90s. That's the kind of stuff I like. I have a nice big backlog of DVDs to watch now. So yeah, I'm down with Attitude Era. I've also been going through, because I subscribe to Peacock, so I have access to like the WWE like history. I started going through WCW Saturday Night from 1993, and I got as far as Halloween Havoc, and I watched Halloween Havoc from that year, and that's where I left off. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to get your take on some of that stuff. But back to the comment. Swingle the Hateful comes down to the ring with his opponents airbrushed on his tights, and calls all of the fans out of shape sweat hogs. It should be noted that only Swingle the Hateful has ever been defeated. The only time Swingle the Hateful has ever been defeated was outside interference from the machine Mecha Menace. Mecha Menace used a Nintendo Power Glove that he got for $2 at a garage sale as a foreign object. The national treasure Balzac comes down to the ring in his Shenmue-themed kimono to a Stone Cold Steve Austin-style crowd reaction. Once Balzac has his opponent knocked out in his signature sleeper hold, he shoves a McDank into their mouths to humiliate them. Balzac is undefeated, but he has also been dodging the dream match of Balzac versus Jerry the Moon Mist. Terrifying for years. I dig it. Swingle replies, I have a humble request. CPU versus CPU of me versus Mecha in one of the WWE games. It's one of my favorite bits you did, aside from Clickety Clacks. I would prefer you provide commentary in the match, but I understand if it's too much. Also, I was cursed by the Papakazi the day I lost. I sweated out nearly 20 pounds of water and a week's worth of food. It was the weirdest double turn in modern Mondo Round Wrestling. Death Adder replies, that's a great idea. Getting the place to myself to film... Yeah, I see what he's saying. Getting the place to myself to film it would be the tricky part, so it might be a minute. But I'll make a Swingle from scratch and a Mecha Menace from scratch. Last time I made a Mecha Menace, and I'm not sure if CF can say this on the air, but I made a Mecha Menace as another kind of person, so no one has ever seen his face. Mecha Menace never commented on it, and as always, I'll let the CPU decide the victor. Hearts all around for such comments, because I would watch that. Death Adder and Alex, thank you both for chiming in. It's always nice to hear from you. Gaming Beast, good old Sean. He says the McDank. Give me a second. Let me slow down to make sure I can read again. The McDank sounds like a heart attack. The worst fast food I ate in America that I can remember was the Baconator, but that burger has been long since tied to the Superheroes campaign and the Champions Online LP. It'd be cool for us to play a tabletop role-playing game together. I'll get on Discord and type some letters randomly like a mad ape. Let's see what happens. I recently played through Dungeon Siege 1. It's a big grind fest, but it's okay for what it is. It's a perfect game to turn the sound turn on the sound and listen to something else. You really haven't played Super Metroid before? You're in for a treat. I recently played it after not touching it again for years. I played it on RetroArch for the retro achievements. I think you'll immensely enjoy yourself. It's a game you can legit beat, and the hype is pretty real with this one. It has been some crappier or substandard MAME games so far, but even the ones not as great have had some interesting weirdness to it. I've got about 1,000 MAME ROMs so far from all of them, but it's a good collection, to which I can add later. The best part is you can play the full game pretty quickly, most of them, and it's a nice 5-minute time waster as well. The only arcade games that never got a port are really interesting as well, and there's quite a few of them. I agree to get Death Adder on the show. It will be great. I have been hidden away in the Doom Tower for too long. I need to get down to the Beast Bar more often. I want to listen to more DAS and comment there. For me, Death Adder will always stay TNR, brother. And one of the prime evils from the Mondo Roundverse cinematic megaverse. Balzac is truly the only babyface, and I gotta stop being lazy and finish the TNR tournament. Either way, thanks for doing the podcast and reading my ramblings. I'll stop now since I can hear Swingle growling physically using his mirror neurons. Yes, indeed. The Baconator. All right, here we go. Hemrock on good old Monday Night Morrowind says, yes, I believe lanterns do run out. After you kill a creature, you can just click Dispose of Corpse, and it will automatically take all. That way you don't have to click both. I call that city Vivek. Awesome. Nice to know that Monday Night Morrowind is still getting watched. Good to hear from you, man. Kaiser K says 100 terabyte hard drives. That's a lot of family-friendly films. Alex Swingle says, goodness, I didn't know I was that influential. I can feel the sadness. I'm suing you for stealing my gimmick. Lol. I don't know what to say to that. Joshua Christian says, this is on the Double Dragon Full Hearts trick on the NES, which, looking back, I made a video on that a few years back, but that is probably the single most complex Nintendo trick. You know, in the days of secret tricks and tips, that is the weirdest one. That's the one that sticks out to me the most as like a potential debug trick that we weren't supposed to know about, rather than like something like the Konami code, which was actually put there for a good time. So it's nice to know that still gets watched. He says, I remember doing this as a kid. I could never remember how to pull it off these days. Thank you. No one ever knew what I was talking about when I would bring it up. I get those every once in a while for this video, and it makes me happy. So glad it works, man. Hamrock says, great to see a reference to Retro Dodo. I really like this channel. The Game Corps and Retro Future are the good channels for retro handhelds. I've been playing some FF Tactics Advance, and FYI, you can master double cast to switch to a summoner, and that game will let you double cast summons. Pretty cool. Yeah, I would enjoy playing Tactics Advance. That's something that I had Tactics Advance for a long time, and one of the reasons I think it didn't stick with me is because I felt like I had to wait too long between saves. So if I got interrupted, then it was a problem. And I constantly get interrupted all the time in everything I ever do. So being able to play it portably with save states actually sounds like a dream for me. And finally we have Kaisercade, who says, gosh darn it, Balzac, now I want a McDank, lol. Also hearing about CF and the gang playing at the park at 2 a.m. with knives sounds like a Dead by Daylight DLC in the making. Yes, it does, and that's why I don't advise doing that to anyone. Parks close at dark for a reason. You don't need to go there at 2 a.m., especially not with knives. And it's not like we were going there for any important business either. We just went there to play. We played hide and seek in the park at night. It's the dumbest thing in the world. It is fun though. All right, I think that's the end of the YouTube comments. Heading over to the Discord now. The Discord is empty. There's some conversations going on, and there are some pictures of the McDank from Balzac, but nothing in the Philbag channel. So I believe that is it, unless I'm forgetting something in terms of the fail bag. All right, since we're wrapping up a couple minutes early, rather than the typical, play Dave's song and sign out, we're going to leave with a track from a group. This is a Spanish language song from a group called Pop Dylan. And when I first started on YouTube, 10 plus years ago, I got this on a compilation called There Goes the Winter. That was loaded to archive.org at the time. And for the first couple years, when I first got on YouTube, I used this as my outro song. But I would fade out before the lyrics kicked in. And I have no idea who this group is, and they don't get mentioned anywhere. So I thought it'd be good to bring it back, hear the actual song, and tip my hat to the group Pop Dylan. Whatever it is you're dealing with this week, I hope it goes well for you, because I'm rooting for you. I really am. Hang in there, and I'll see you next week. Here's Pop Dylan.